I'm really excited about this very final part because the topic is deaf role models. And something that is really important and personal to me as well, because somebody growing up in the hearing world, I never had a deaf role model at all. In fact, I met my first deaf role model with Stuart. And Stuart at the back, he started introducing me to Stuart Parkinson. Yeah, he was the first deaf person I met, and I was just like really grateful for him to introduce me to the deaf community, and it's been fun. And I wish I had that when I was younger. So we are going to have an open discussion, an open panel discussion about role models and why it's important. But third, I have been having a lot of conversations with three amazing young people from a school in Cardiff, outside Cardiff, called St. David, and they spoke to me about the lack of awareness for film. And when they spoke to me about it, wow, they've been on TV, they got a lot of publicity, I thought I have to get them. Three really bright boys, and they are our future. And we want to see future deaf people in Wales. So if you don't mind, in your own time, would you like to come on the stage and talk about your fantastic campaign?
Good afternoon, and thank you for inviting us to take part in this event. My name is Dan, and I'm 13 years old. I've just started studying for my GCSEs, and I'm a member of the Welsh Parliament.
Good afternoon, my name is Jackie. I'm also 13 years old and I'm a member of the Welsh Parliament. Also an active leader.
Hi, my name is Jacob. I'm also 13 years old and I love dolphins.
If you don't know already, we're running a campaign called Get Your Caps On, which aims to increase the number of subtitle screenings in cinemas. This is something that's very important to us, and I'm sure you will agree that it could make a big difference in our social life. As teenagers, we feel that subtitled films are not shown at times right for us. For example, who wants to see the latest Marvel movie at 4 o'clock on a Monday afternoon? We've all had the experience of turning down the opportunity to go to the cinema with our friends just because a subtitle screening just hadn't been available at a convenient time.
Instead of just complaining about the situation, we decided to try and do something to raise awareness and hopefully encourage some more change. We are naturally positive people, and we feel that there is always a way to get people on our side with a can-do attitude. If we look at things being unfair, then it takes away our power to make change and challenge people's perception.
This is what we've been up to so far with our campaign. Dan and one of his friends Morgan made a film, BBC News Round. We've had a lot of positive feedback about the message we're trying to get across. And as I mentioned at the start, Dan and Yahya are both members of the Welsh Parliament and bring this up as an issue at regional and national meetings. We have also recently held a subtitled screening at Snowcat Cinema in Penarth for deaf young people all across South Wales, and we're going to use feedback from follow-up questionnaires from follow-up next steps.
It would be great if you could help us by sharing information about the campaign with family, friends, and anyone in your community that may be able to support us. You can follow us on Twitter @_capson, and we are also developing our webpage, which can be viewed at getyourcapson.com. The webpage is a great place where we'd like to be able to share ideas and experiences that can help to make a difference.
Today we have some flyers to share with you, and you can even buy one of our campaign tote bags. All proceeds will go to expanding our campaign. Look out for some famous faces carrying our bags in the near future. Thank you.
None of you are leaving until you buy one. Okay, that's agreement. Well, thank you very much for your fantastic presentation. Oh my God, you have to keep going with what you do, Yeah, well done. Thank you very much. We're a little bit dropped here. I think I invited too many people. Role model. This is the topic, role model, just role model. And we have role models here. So I feel it's really important. So I want to open this kind of discussion to the floor. But I think before we open this to the floor, it'd be great if you can tell us your name, a little bit about what you do.
Oh, okay, so my name's Stephen. I'm a performer. I facilitate workshops. I'm a creative consultant, and I work for a deaf and hearing data company, and that's about it. I'm Robina. I'm an artist. I'm from London, and I'm an art therapist as well, and I run workshops and I facilitate workshops. Hello, my name's Kathy, and I grew up in Wales. And I have various hats, but here today I'm a youth worker and I work with young deaf people, and I'm also a teacher and I work on a freelance basis as well. I'm really happy to be here. My name is David, very much a Welsh name. I grew up in Wales, same as Kathy. And my day job, I work for Welsh Government, but at night I do woodworking. And I was recently on Channel 4 on the programme Britain's Best Woodworker, and that was the series was out last year.
My name is Dan, so I'm 13 years old and I'm a student at Symposium School. And as you could already tell, I'm really passionate about being able to go to films with my friends, and being able to be a member of the Welsh Parliament has really benefited that. I'm just able to get my voice across and with my opinions.
Hi there, I'm Johnny, and I am really an artist. That's all I am. I just like to do lots of different other things, which really affect me. I want to have maybe one question first. Role model, why is that important? Okay.
Well, from a youth work perspective, I've met a lot of deaf children here in Wales where there isn't deaf education as such. They're all being educated in mainstream, which means that those children they don't have access to role models growing up, and going to school, whether it's oral or sign, they experience a lot of barriers. And a lot of young people growing up today, they're leaving school and they don't have sign language, but they have no one to look up to. They've got no deaf pride. And I think that's the sort of biggest thing. Learning sign language is important, but actually identity is more important, and it's about getting that balance. And myself as a youth worker, I try to make sure, that the young people today don't have the same experience the same barriers I did. I want to change that. I want the future to be better, to have better access, and for children to be able to be bilingual. And I think that children need role models to do that. Similarly, I think, role models. Why do you need role models? And then I thought, yes, it's because, you see hearing people. You've got lots of role models from TV, celebrities. So, you can all think of famous people. And you have that access through media. And they help us to, think that we can do it. Yeah, they might have barriers, but they're still able to achieve. And that's why you need deaf role models, to see successful people that have achieved, whether that's in politics or medicine or art, to think that those possibilities are open to you and those opportunities are open to you, and so that you can see that actually I can do it, and that's where you break down those barriers. Personally, I think role models are important, because it was funny that Johnny asked me to become a role model. I was like, me, a role model? I'm not sure, okay. But growing up, I never saw any deaf adults. So I didn't know what the possibilities were. I mean, I got involved in various sort of arts activities before, drawing, but I never saw any deaf artists, so I never thought of it as being something I could make a career out of. And now seeing you guys, You know, I'm 49 now, you know, but I'm not yet a grown-up, but I'm still learning. But for young people, seeing those role models is important, so they can see what the possibilities are, and that deaf people can do it. Yeah, there might be barriers, but they can be overcome, or kind of, you know, we can get under it, we can get over it. But you need those role models to see that you can, and to see what paths that other people have taken. Interestingly, it's the sort of same point that you're raising, that role models, you know, they don't have to be a famous person or someone well known. It could be, you know, a typical deaf person living in Wales like us. You know, because of myself as a youth worker, you know, I work with young people in a youth club and they're all sort of running around. But parents have asked me, oh, you know, can you give them a lift or do this or arrange something for them? And I've done that. And then I've taken them home. And I said, oh, you know, see you next week. But they might ask me, oh, you know, how did you learn to drive? My father said that I wouldn't be able to learn to drive. And I said, oh, you know, but yeah, they might be hearing, but a deaf person can learn to drive. And they've been amazed. You know, and they've realised, oh, actually, I can do the same things as them. So it's like little things, like just examples. And we can empathise with them as being deaf as well. So, you know, it doesn't have to be a famous person. It can be someone local. You know, just having a deaf adult to have access to. Do you have role models?
So I can't really think of any role models that I have. I have multiple, but for me, a role model is just someone that I can look up to and kind of learn from them. Like, I don't know, if they had had a really, like, had a bad downfall in their career, how did they get back up again, and how can that help me continue to do what I do, and just being able to have a role model is great because you can, I mean, if it's someone that you know, you're able to ask them questions on how to progress in life and just how to keep being who you are.
So that's an amazing example, really. I mean, 30 years ago, you know, I wouldn't have been speaking like that. So that's, you know, amazing. You know, but being able to learn from each other is really important. I mean, Dan is 13 and he's standing up giving presentations, so he's my role model. I mean, yes, that's, you know, at 13, I wouldn't have had the confidence. So, you know, having that attitude, having that confidence is amazing. But yeah, thinking about when I was kind of 13, 14, 15, thinking about sort of careers, you know, I was thinking about hands-on careers, factory work, you know, basic kind of unskilled work. But now, you've got deaf actors, you've got deaf artists, you've got deaf carpenters, you know, deaf campaigners, deaf pilots, you know, people who are doing all sorts, you know, DJs. So, you know, the programme Gladiator. You know, when you sort of the old TV programme Gladiator, when, you know, they'd be sort of kind of competing against each other on TV back in the kind of, you know, 90s. And I've got a deaf contestant in it. And I think, oh yes, we've got a deaf gladiator. Marvel? And we've got a Marvel character who's deaf. You've got a superhero. So the possibilities are endless and they're out there. So, you know, whether I'm a role model, it doesn't matter. It's about sort of having that access and having that connection. And it's a very, you know, that's very powerful for me. But it's important to realise, you know, when you're growing up, it's like deaf is considered a negative. So it's not, you have to think about the opportunities and the positives and the things that you can do, not that, oh, deaf, because I'm deaf, I can't do this or I can't do that. Like the comedy last night, you know, the power of that was, you know, that's something I missed out on. And sort of being visual and thinking in a different way. So in sort of a different sort of focus from hearing. So discussing ideas. You know, my deaf way of thinking is different from a hearing way of thinking. So I think we need to get away from kind of negativity and actually think about the valuable parts of deafness and the positives, and having a deaf identity is so important to that. And that deaf people can offer a lot more because we can do it in a deaf way, and that's the power of being deaf.
I don't know if it makes sense, but is that the thing as a hearing role model, or should we be calling it a deaf ally? And why are they important?
I think allies are great. I mean, I work, in the area of intersectionality. So with regard to anti-racism, supporting LGBT communities, but I think it's important when you have minority groups, within a majority, you need allies. You need the right allies. And often comedy is the best way to explain this. So an ally who's doing something for you is not an ally. Ally is someone who's with you when there's barriers. So, but then they might speak on your behalf, so that then someone comes back to you. There was one girl who was, Lauren, who was quite oral. So her younger sister is deaf or hard of hearing. And they grew up together. And she saw the barriers that her sister experienced, so she has that understanding. And I think through that, she would be sort of advocating on behalf of deaf people to say that deaf people can do and would communicate with the group on my behalf. It's great having interpreters, but sometimes having an ally with you, and especially in the TV program I was in, it helped me to sort of integrate and be included. But she didn't take over for me, she just opened doors for me. So that's what an ally should be doing. So it's about support and working together, that's important. So it's about acceptance. So if you're not accepting who I am and I'm not accepting who you are, then there's no cooperation. So we're all from different backgrounds, we all have different cultures, different identities, but we can still work together and be together in the same room and sort of discuss our views, and I think that's important. We need to be accepting of each other and respectful of who we are. And diversity is important, and it's all around us, and we see it, and we need to celebrate it. But it's rare. Often it's people are trying to pull each other down. What we need to do is make those connections and support each other, and it doesn't matter whether you're deaf, hearing, blind. We need to be moving to get forward together to improve access, to achieve equality, and to get changes in the law. So we need to work together. But you're right. A lot of families, you might have hearing parents of deaf children, and the child might feel left out, but there might be a brother or sister that supports them and encourages them and increases their confidence. So I think we need to make sure that we have that support around people. And then when the time is right, they can be kind of, released from the nest and sort of at the right time. But, Dan and the other young people being involved in the Youth Parliament, that is very powerful, and it can achieve change because there hasn't been access for deaf young people. So it's important for deaf young people to have that voice and to be able to contribute their views so that the Parliament can learn. And what's important for me is great for them to have a voice, and that's the only way things are going to progress. And we need everyone to be working together. That's the most important thing. With regard to allies, and diversity, everyone comes from different cultures, and sometimes people can struggle to work together. So the difficulty is, trying to welcome people in and to support each other within the community. And it's the same issues with cultures, with deaf and hearing, but we need to be open and to be able to share a vision. So those opportunities are there. We don't talk enough about the barriers, so we need to be welcoming allies, I think, and it takes time. A lot of older deaf people, might have been reluctant, and there is generational change.
Thank you. I think our lovely audience have been really patient. I know they got a lot of questions they want to ask us. So I've opened this to you. If you have a thought or something you want to share with us, this is a great opportunity to do so. I'm very happy if you want to come up to the front and speak to make it easier for the interpreters. Or if you've got a microphone, I think, yeah, got a microphone go around. If you've got a question you want to ask, maybe put your hand up, and then I can see. It could be any one of it. It could be something you may want to share with us.
Thank you, everybody, so far. It's been really, really insightful. I've got a question directly for Rubina, if that's okay. Just wanted to ask, as a person of colour, as a deaf person of colour, you spoke about your life growing up as a Pakistani lady, but could you speak more about that intersection of being South Asian, being Pakistani, and what it's like for a deaf person?
I think growing up, it was really difficult. Because my parents were fairly old-fashioned, they were quite strict and had cultural beliefs from Pakistan, and were trying to sort of, continue those. So, I had to eat food at home, wasn't able to go out. My brother was going out and I wasn't allowed. And my parents worked 7 days a week. And they didn't really have time for us. We never had family holidays or anything like that. And that was common, with families. So I had to learn to be quite sort of, self-reliant and sort of have access to find my information. You didn't have subtitles as much in TV then. I'd have to pick up from what I could see. My parents were upset when they found out I was deaf, and they were trying to kind of fix it. They would go to church. They were trying to make me to become hearing. They were sending me to church, which was a bit weird because it was like, their religion, our religion was the mosque, and they were sending me to church. And I was like, you want me to go to church? And they'd go with my friends, and they'd be sort of passing the bread and wine, and I'd be like, what am I doing this? I was very confused as to what was going on. And then I'd go home, and my father would say, and they'd been told that I'd become hearing, and I was like, please, Father, come with me. This is really confusing. I really don't know what's going on. So he agreed to come, and then when he saw what was happening, he said, "You want me to sort of pray to Jesus?" And he was very shocked. So anyway, so we went home. So I was culturally confused. So I'd be picking up sort of things, what was happening in Birmingham, locally. Oh, sorry, so. And thinking that various things would make me hearing. Going to audiology, etc. I'd take off my hearing aids, and I realised I wasn't hearing. So they were trying to fix it. And there was an opportunity to have a cochlear implant. This was sort of, a while back, we were looking at, they said, oh look, this is a cochlear implant. They wanted to see what sort of, my reaction would be. And they said, oh, you have this and you can hear. And they said it would be £2,000, they're not free. So I thought, they would say no because they're quite tight. And they were saying that they would pay. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, no, 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 no. You know, the poor man, he's trying to fix a problem. So I felt, like I was sort of their guilt, like a burden. They were upset that I was deaf, that I was a daughter. I was sort of doing kind of manual work, sort of cooking, cleaning, that kind of thing. I was trying to help them. I was trying to help them feel better. And art was my escape, because then I felt free. I was able to drive, and I'd be driving around. I'd stop anywhere and just kind of paint a canvas. I couldn't hear the traffic going by. So, someone would tell my father, oh, I saw your daughter in the street parked and sort of, doing art, and he'd be like, what are you doing? So, I'd be trying to use my common sense, if I saw someone watching me. So, for example, being a Muslim, you'd learn the Quran, but I really struggled. So I really struggled learning. So, I'd get a slap and my brother would be upset. I was like, what happened? I'd get slapped for not speaking, or kind of, I'd just get confused. I never really learnt my religion properly. But, again, I'm really looking to be free and to sort of pick up information. I mean, I've been lucky. If I'd just stayed home, I wouldn't have picked up so much. But my father trusted me, I used to get into trouble a lot because they'd say I have to be home at sort of 9 or 10, but they'd catch me coming in at 1 o'clock because they'd hear my footsteps, and I get caught every time. I couldn't believe it. It's very annoying. So for my parents, religion was one thing, but kind of living in England, I was able to sort of have that escape. I went to university and they sort of practice, like I sort of wanted to escape. My parents wanted sort of one place, but they didn't offer, because I didn't want to be trapped again. Because they were very, very religious people. And I sort of stayed there for 6 months, that they wore headscarves, and I hadn't done that growing up. So I had to challenge my parents. Said, "Do you want me to live with these people?" But they refused, and I would sort of be arguing, and I'd be explaining to my parents, "You really want me to do this? Have a look, come and see what it's like there." And then my father realised, important. I had to show them. I had to sort of admit that I'd sort of, been to the pub, and because I said I was like winning the pool competition, and they were like, "What are you doing in the pub?" Because I I'd never thought twice about going to the pub. But my brother and sister were sort of angry, going, "What do you mean you're going to the pub?" And I said, "Of course I haven't been drinking alcohol. I've just been playing pool." What, I have to educate them and educate my parents. And it was really important for me to educate them, to show them that they could trust me and that I knew what I was doing with my life. And, I met my partner in university, and it was, they wanted to arrange marriage because they were like various cousins. And I was the first one who was deaf. And I brought them out of the house, and they kind of lost their temper. They said I wasn't allowed. But my mum from 16 generations had married cousins, and they were trying to sort of help bring the family together. And they sort of argued because they. Sorry. Just clarifying. Yeah. So in university, I met my partner, And they asked whether they could meet my father, and I was clueless. And I said, yeah, come home and visit, sort of like, you know, lots of sort of people had visited my house before. And my parents blew a fuse. They said, oh, it's not allowed. We arrange marriage with cousins, and I had to sort of think again. And my sister was like, what the hell have you done, you stupid girl? And I just used my deaf card. I was like, oh, you know, I'm deaf, I didn't know. What are you talking about? I knew nothing. But my sister was angry because they'd had a white girlfriend, my brother, but because the family are Muslim and Pakistani, and, you know, it was a Muslim doctor, I thought it'd be okay. But no, it was worse, they were arguing with me. Because I think I was the easier one to target, rather than my brother. So they were having a go at me. And I just had to kind of put up with it. But in the end, my parents gave up. And they let me marry my partner of 3 years. And a lot of my life I've kind of had to sort of, you know, educate my parents. You know, I'm not a bad person. I wasn't drinking, I wasn't going out with different boys and having sex. It was like, you know, I met my best friend. So it was a case of having to explain that to them. You know, and sometimes, you know, they would listen to him more than me. But they needed to sort of, you know, they had to meet my partner quite a few times and kind of be introduced to the sort of deaf world. And their knowledge of the deaf world was quite limited. But we need to allow parents into that world to see it, because it's scary. It's scary for them. And I was scared my parents were going to kick me out, you know, or that they were going to sort of hit me or be angry with me a lot of the time. And they didn't talk to me for a long time. But, you know, it was about cultural appreciation. But, you know, back then, it wasn't the case. So, you know, I got this sort of silent treatment. And I just had to be patient. You know, and sort of rebuild our relationship. But I'm not sure if that answers your question. But, you know, I think that was my biggest problem. So what is a question for Kathy? You're a teacher for the deaf, is that right? I'm a youth worker. So I was just wondering, have you seen any improvement, you know, in the last however many years with regards to children's access to sign language? So maybe not necessarily in school, but outside, whether it's home, family, whether people have more access to sign language now? That's an interesting question and very valid. The children that I work with, I mean, when I first started and first set up the youth club, the children who came along had some BSL. I mean, I'm talking, this is kind of 14 years ago, and there was sort of total communication method being used in school. So they would be going to a mainstream school, with a teacher of the deaf and a hearing unit. And then in the last 20 years, there's been a bit of a shift where there's been changes in the local authorities and there's less children being put together, they don't have peers, there's less teachers of the deaf. And when they sort of come to youth club, there's a lot more of a mix there, because it's in you know, children in school, maybe they would have had time to sort of sign together. And they all lived quite far away from each other, so there wasn't opportunities to mix. So in the last 20 years, I think there isn't that much opportunity. So I think that's a barrier for young people. So we have kind of youth workers out there, but there aren't that many youth clubs for deaf young people. There was 47 youth workers for deaf young people, but the opportunities to get jobs and employ deaf staff and set up youth clubs, that hasn't happened. and it's that it's affecting young people today. I mean, socially, it's important to develop that identity and to give young people the opportunity to have a go and to have that access and to have better access to those opportunities. So I'm hoping, with the BSL being included in the curriculum, and not just for deaf children but for hearing children as well, they will see the beauty of the language and learn BSL and use BSL to communicate and engage and to get more involved and to be more included. So I'm hoping that is going to be the way forward and it's going to be better in the future. But it's slow. It's, you know, we're not going to solve everything overnight. And I think, you know, Wales is behind. I think there's been progress in England and Scotland, but we're still lagging behind. And I think it's up to us to be more assertive and to open the doors for young people. Because, you know, being educated in the oral system is not their fault. We need to get out there. You know, we've left school, we're now in jobs and careers, so and there's no reason why those young people can't do it. So we need to change their attitudes.
I've got a question for Dan about the cinema, because I think that's a really good point. Okay, so I'm fed up, like you, about cinemas. You know, I can't go out at particular times. You know, my family go out on a Friday night. I can't do that. You know, I have to go on a Sunday afternoon because that's when the subtitles are on. But that's when I want to go to sleep. So here, you know, there's a lot of deaf people here using sign language. You know, so some people don't use sign language though. So, do you think, you know, the sign language is the way forward, or do you think, you know, a lot of children are using speech more and not using sign language? Is there a way we can support you better so that you would be interested in sign language or use it?
Personally, I think it might just be a mix of both. I've been brought up being able to speak, and I enjoy being able to talk normally, but for others it's different. For others, they want to sign, and I respect that. I learned a bit of signing myself, and I just find it's their opinion. If they want to sign, they can sign. If they want to speak, they can speak.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a really good point, Dan, because I don't think we do enough to expose this, you know, to say, look, you know, deaf people are all different. You know, you're saying there's 47 deaf youth workers in Wales. I don't know how many there are in England. I'm not sure there are that many. Yes, there are youth workers there, but not the jobs. That's fascinating. But my point linked with that topic is, you know, it's really hard to find the work because there are barriers there. So, you know, people get the qualifications, then they can't get the jobs. So, you know, is that about awareness in the local authorities or whatever? You know, do we need somebody to go in and say, look, we need these deaf youth workers? You know, there's a gap. There's something that needs to change, and we need to bring deaf people in, appropriately qualified deaf people. You know, just bringing one deaf person into a team will make a difference. You know, that will influence knowledge, that will influence people, they can empathise with the deaf children that come through, you know, and that has a knock-on effect. It causes that sort of domino effect. So you get the first one through the door, and it makes a difference. Yeah, I'm good, that's brilliant, I'm great. So David's just saying, for me, I grew up oral, I grew up speaking. When I was about 25, I met Tessa, who's a deaf lady, Tessa Patton, as a linguist, and I was blown away. by British Sign Language, watching it. So now I'm a little bit older, maybe a little bit wiser, but I think it's really important that we all have our own individual journeys to go on. Some deaf people are very calm, very happy with where they are, being oral, whatever, that's fine. Other people are kind of, you should do it this way, or you should do it that way, whatever. Life is a rich tapestry, there's lots of different people. Trying to think, you know, sometimes when I'm in English, I think, what's the word for this that I want to say? And then it comes out in BSL, because I can express myself in BSL a bit better, you know? And it doesn't matter what level of deafness you are, what your upbringing was, we all have our different identities. And I want to kind of get away from that group, so deaf people should be like this, or deaf people should be like that, or these are oral, these are BSL users. The important thing is that we all have our own identity, we all have our own personality, we all have our own feelings about what's good, what's bad in different situations, and what we're going to use. So, I have to say, inside, I feel like BSL has been a great experience for me, learning BSL, being able to express myself in BSL, you know. And I've travelled, I've been out on a motorbike around Europe, around Poland, stuff with deaf groups, and I've met deaf people in all sorts of different countries when I've been on my trips, you know. And that's brilliant, you know, rather than having to look up the French word for this or the Polish word for that. Deaf groups get together and it's just immediate. The communication is brilliant, you know. And it's fascinating. You find out, when I came to watch the show last night when Gavin was doing his comedies, there was so much rich, beautiful language coming out, and the experiences he was talking about could really resonate with. Now, you know, whether people learn BSL or they don't learn BSL, that's fine. Doesn't matter. I don't think people should feel pressured to learn. If that's not your identity, if that's not your way, that's fine. I think the importance is that we should not be pressurizing people to do that. We must allow people to have a choice and grow up the way they want to grow up.
I agree a lot with you saying when 49, I do understand that I'm much more comfortable using my voice because that's all I know. You know, maybe I'm in denial about my deaf identity. I'm still going on that journey. But I had the conversation with Gavin because I didn't realise he was always growing up. But if an identity thing, what you feel comfortable with, and I could have easily just, I'm very happy to use my voice, it's what I know. So I think everybody has different experience of different identities.
What is interesting, we all grew up forward.
Yeah.
Most of us are generation, exactly as Soka, and China and first language in school, majority of us. I have a voice, since my always been the best event, I'm using China for that reason.
I think another thing is, you know, it's about family, you know, for families who have a deaf child, okay, very often the hearing family kind of go, oh my gosh, what do I do? And the first person they're in contact with is the doctor, and the doctor will say, go to audiology and get a cochlear implant, and, you know, and that might have changed, but in the past, certainly, the word sorry would always be used. We're sorry your child is deaf. We're sorry, so negative, straight away, you know? And, you know, it's not, I'm not saying that all deaf children should learn fine, but actually, if instead of saying sorry, we say, your child's deaf, here's some information about the deaf community, here's some information about this and that, you know? So, your child's deaf, but that doesn't mean they can't do this or that. It's a different focus, isn't it? You know, for me, you know, I mean, I remember growing up with speech therapy and all sorts of aids and stuff like that, you know, and I got to a point where I just refused. I refused. I stopped, and I said, no, I'm off. That's it. I'm deaf. I want to be with deaf people, you know, from quite young, you know, I made that decision. And my parents could see I'm a different person. You know, my brother's 4 years older than me. I was way more confident than he was, you know. And I think they realised, okay, this is not the daughter we knew when we were, you know, bringing her up. And it's important that I be who I am. And we all develop our futures, but we all start as a baby with those parents and with that experience. And it's really important that parents get to enjoy that experience of being with their baby rather than worrying about stuff. You know, I think the government need to wake up and think about, you know, funding family sign language classes to make sure that parents can learn sign language so there's an option there, you know? Because if parents can't communicate with their own deaf children, that's a shame. They can learn Welsh, they get free Welsh classes, children get Welsh lessons, you know, a lot of parents get Welsh lessons, so why not sign language? And I think that's our responsibility. We have to play that role. We have to be the ones going out and campaigning for that, so that, you know, when parents give birth to a child who's diagnosed as deaf, it's okay.
On that note, I think we need to stop now and have coffee, have tea, and I think that cake, I hope that cake, yeah, they've done that very cake. We all love cake, especially if it's sweet.
Can I just quickly say one thing? A huge thank you to Johnny for organising today. Thank you very much. Thank you. Also, thank you to Chapter Arts. And I hope that this is the start of the conversation. I hope these things will happen again, maybe next year, and the conversations carry on in between. Because it's really important that we talk about this topic. It's really important, you know, the hearing people who are here, welcome. Thank you for coming, for hearing us. Thank you for sharing, and please pass that message on. So thank you everybody for coming today.